Hello and welcome back to the Brothers Grimm Dark. Today we're going to be taking a look at Codex Tyranids. So we're going to run through the detachments in here, take a look at the lore and some of the photos and see what we make of the book as a whole. Let's dive right into it now. So first off you got obviously a contents page and then a good chunk of lore on the Tyranids. Ooh. The intergalactic predator. Beyond the human galaxy, beyond the range of man-made spacecraft and astrotelepathy lies the unspeakable cold of the intergalactic void. Few have ventured into this realm, and none have ever returned. It is the great barrier that divides galaxy from galaxy, a place where time and space conspire to hold the worlds apart in inconceivable distance. Okay, so a little bit of the lore of the Tyranids there, and it obviously carries on, but I'm just going to read that little bit at the start just to get the creative juices flowing, get us into the feel of the Tyranids here. Obviously you've got some lovely artwork to go along with all of that. Mostly Space Marines in that one, but a good bit on board their battleships, that's cool. So yeah, probably got, what have we got here? About 30 pages of lore on the Tyranids. Good little amount just to get your creative juices flowing, figure out which sort of hive fleet is for you, what style you like. And then we get into the showcase, so some of the very nicely painted models from the heavy metal team. Lictor down there, one of my personal favourites. And the multi-part pose for the Lictor, another option there. New Gene Steelers, facing off against the Linden, of course, my boys. No stranger to the Tyranids, of course. Space Wolves there as well. Very cool. Oh, a nice little Space Hulk shot there with the Terminators, like that. That's cool. Another Lictor. Oh, and the new Norma Simulator. I prefer that one. I like the head on him. It's very, very bug-like. Some brain bugs there, and then a nice little battle scene shot there against the Leagues of Wotan. Then we get into combat patrol. You've got the Vardengast Swarm, so it's quite a big one for Tyranids actually. You get the Psychophage, unit of 10 Termagants, the Von Ryan's Leapers, like those models, do a good job of them. Turret of Vardengast, which is just a winged Tyranid Prime, another 10 Termagants and 5 Barbguns. Yeah, good sized combat patrol that. A little painting guide, something you didn't used to get in codexes of old, but that might be useful for some people. Then you got the combat patrol rules, as they're slightly different than on bigger scale games. And then we get to Forces of Tyranids. So you got 2 army rules here. First one is Synapse. If your army faction is Tyranids, while a Tyranids unit from your army is within 6 inches of one or more friendly Synapse models, that Tyranids unit is said to be within Synapse range of that model and of your army. Each time a Tyranids unit from your army takes a battleshot test, if it was in Synapse range for your army, you take the test on 3d6 rather than 2d6. Okay, so good at keeping all your bugs around really, but especially your little bugs if they're near some other Synapse, more experienced, more higher up the food chain brethren there. Then we've got Shadow in the Warp. If your army faction is Tyranids, once per battle in either player's command phase, if one or more units from your army with this ability are on the battlefield, you can unleash Shadow of the Warp. When you do, each enemy unit on the battlefield takes a battle shot test. So that can be very good just for swaying the game in terms of stealing some objectives off your opponent or making your opponent fail so they just don't control any objectives. So it can swing a game. It's not the most aggressive damage output way of playing, but it can stop your opponent scoring points or get you extra points. So it's a good one that can come in very handy. Okay, so first the detachments. I really like the way the Tyranid detachments work. They kind of represent the hive fleet taking over a planet. So first one, of course, is the invasion fleet. So this is just planetfall, the first Tyranids to make it onto the planet. So the detachment rule is hyper adaptations. At the start of the first battle round, select one of the following hyper adaptations to be active for the Tyranids army. Tyranids units from your army until the end of the battle. So You've got swarming instincts. Each time a Tyranids model from Tyranids model with this hyper adaptation makes an attack that targets an infantry or swarm unit, that attack, it has the sustained hits 1 ability. So that's probably, I think, the one you're going to go for the most, because you're going to be facing infantry in almost every game. So having sustained hits on them is really just going to help you punch through even more infantry. Tyranids have a lot of attacks as base, so fishing for those extra sustained hits is usually not a bad way to go. Then you got hyper aggression, which gives you lethal hits against monsters. Similarly, that might be one you go for if you come up against knights or just a very vehicle or monster heavy list. Could be very handy in a pinch. As I say, Tyranids get a lot of attacks, so you've got a good chance of getting extra lethal hits. Getting lethal hits through with that. And then lastly, you got hive predators, which gives you precision on a critical hit against characters. Which is, yeah, it's okay. I think that's probably the most niche of the 3, but if you come against somebody that has a lot of characters, that could be very good, or as we'll see in a second, there's a stratagem that can be very good to get that active. So first we get to the enhancements. Alien Cunning. Tyranids model only. After both players have deployed their armies, select up to 3 Tyranids units from your army and redeploy them. When doing so, you can set those units up in strategic reserve if you wish, regardless of how many units are already in strategic reserves. Yep, I like that, love stuff like that. Redeploys are always very useful, very handy, just to, you can sort of goad your opponent into deploying one place and then you can quickly redeploy, so you can spread your threat ranges about, redeploy them. It just keeps your opponent guessing and gives you access to, yeah, a little bit more survivability or, yeah, sneaky gamesmanship. I like stuff like that, it's very good. Perfectly adapted. Tyranids model only. Once per game, you can re-roll, once per turn, sorry, you can re-roll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, 1 damage roll, 1 advance roll, 1 charge roll, or 1 saving throw for the bearer. Yeah, it's okay. Saving throw might be handy, or a damage roll on something that's got like d6 damage or something. It's okay. It's not a go-to one for me, but it could be handy in a pinch. Synaptic Linchpin. Tyranids model only. While a friendly Tyranids unit from your army is within 9 inches of the bear, it counts as being in synapse range. Okay, so it spreads your synapse range for that character, which essentially gives it an 18-inch synapse bubble, which is big, but depending on how many other synapse things you're running, it might not be necessary. Whereas if you're only running 1 or 2 synapse creatures, a few, if you're not running warriors, essentially, that could be a good one if it's only really your characters that are the synapses. So could be useful, but there are ways around that you don't need to take Synaptic Linchpin. And then lastly, we have Adaptive Biology. Tyranids model only. The bear has a Feel No Pain 4+ ability. At the start of any turn where the bear has fewer than its starting number of wounds remaining until the end of the battle, it has Feel No Pain 4 up. Okay, yeah, that's very good on something with a lot of wounds like your Hive Tyrant or Winged Hive Tyrant. Give it that 5 up Feel No Pain. Once it's taken its first wound, it's then going to be shrugging off 50% of damage that comes through for the rest of the game. So that's a good one. Rapid Regeneration, first of the stratagems here. In your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after the main unit has selected its attacks, 1 Tyranids unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a Feel No Pain 6+, and if you're within synapse range, Feel No Pain 5+. Okay, again, helping you on that survivability. So you really do want to be running a few synapse things, I think, in this invasion fleet, just to get the most out of stuff like that. But that could be very good. Adrenal Surge. Up to 2 Tyranids units from your army that are within synapse range. Once again, we're getting that synapse keyword. Of your army and are eligible to fight, or 1 Tyranids unit if you're not within synapse range. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in any of those selected units makes an attack, an unmodified hit roll 5+ scores a critical hit. Okay, so that's 2 CP, but you could do it on 2 units, and that's going to get either your Swarming Instincts, your Hyper Aggression, or your Hive Predators off on 5. So potentially very, very good. That makes you even more punchy. 2 CP is a lot, but it is a battle tactic. So if you're running a Hive Tyrant, you're going to be able to do that for free because of his his ability, where is it? Yeah, Will of the Hive Mind. One friendly Tyranids unit within 12 inches of this model with this ability can be targeted as stratagem for 0 CP. So that's a good one if you're running a Hive turn. It's still good otherwise, but it's expensive. 2 CP is a lot of resources. Death Frenzy. Fight phase. Just after an enemy unit has been selected for its attacks, one Tyranids unit from your army will select as target those attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not fought this phase, roll d6. Okay, so on a 4+, you fight again. Could be very good on something like Warriors or Gene Stealers, if you're expecting them to go down. And you could risk it on something like a Trigon that's got a lot of attacks. It's a 50-50 whether you'll get to fight back, but could be good. But yeah, you're risking that CP on a 50-50. And Overrun. Fight phase. Just before a Tyranids unit from your army has consolidated. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit consolidates, you can move models up to 3 inches as long as you end with an engagement range of one or more enemy units. If the unit is within synapse range and not within, you don't have to end within engagement range, you can just make a normal 6-inch move. Okay, so 2 very good plays there. If you're trying to shut your opponent down, you move those 6 inches and you shut down the next unit. You've wiped out one unit, boom, you just bounce into the next one. And the second one is you can charge in, hit a unit, and then withdraw to behind cover or a little bit further away from your opponent. So overrun, very good stratagem there. All these have been pretty useful so far. Predatory Imperative. In your command phase, up to 2 Tyranids units from your army if you're within synapse range. Okay, again, you want to have quite a bit of synapse in your army if you're running this, just to get the most of these stratagems. Select one hyper adaptation until the start of your next command phase. That hyper adaptation is active for those selected units. Okay, so that lets you switch. For 2 units, you can switch into 2 of these. So say you've got a unit that you've got a character on the board that you want to take out, but you've gone for Swarming Instincts. You can pop a couple of your units into this, charge in, get those precision attacks on the character, wipe them out. Or if it's a big vehicle you're going over, you can pop a couple of units into the hyper aggression, so you get lethal hits against monsters. So that's very good for 1 CP, but you get to do that on 2 units. I like that a lot. Endless Swarm. In your command phase, up to 2 Endless Multitude units from your army that are within synapse range of your army, or 1 other Endless Multitude unit if you're not, you can return up to D3+3 destroyed models to that unit. That's quite a lot. Minimum of 4, maximum of 6 models on 2 units if you're within synapse range, which again, I think you're going to want to try to be because of all the assets that you get if you are. That could be good as well, depending on how you run things. If you're running very swarmy things, you might not use that. If you're running more warriors, there's other stratagems that you'll use, but yeah, I think all of them are useful actually. Again, Synaptic Linchpin could be very good to help you get those off, but if you're running more synapse models like warriors and zoanthropes and things, if you've got more than just your characters on the board that have synapse, you might not need it so much, but yeah, let's play with all them and definitely play with all the stratagems. And Detachment Rule is solid, gives you a lot of flexibility. Okay, next we have Crusher Stampede. I like this. So Invasion Fleet has landed and now the big beasts have come in to steamroll whatever's on the planet, create a bit of space for whatever is coming in behind them. Enraged Behemoths is the detachment rule. Each time a Tyranids monster from your army that makes an attack, add 1 to the hit roll if that model's unit is below starting strength, and add 1 to the wound roll if that is below half starting strength. Okay, so keeps your monsters getting better the more damage they take. Can be good, makes you feel not so bad about getting hit with 4 damage with a las cannon or something, that you know that your monster is going to be getting better. Yeah, that's good. It's solid, it's quite fun and thematic, and yeah, going to help you steamroll some stuff. Enhancements. Ominous Presence. Tyranids monster model only. Add 3 to the bearer's objective control characteristic. Okay, makes sense. If you're running this, you're probably not running a lot of battle line units. You're going for the big beasties, so being able to hold on to those objectives is going to be paramount. So yeah, adding 3 to the bearer's objective control, Very useful ability to have. Enraged Reserves. Tyranids monster model only. If the bear is destroyed by a melee attack, if it has not fought this phase, roll a d6. On a 3+, do not remove it from play. It can fight after the attacker model's unit has finished making its attacks, and then is removed from play. Okay, so it's kind of similar to that stratagem, Death Frenzy, but you get it on a 3+, which is slightly better, but you're tied to the model that it's on because it's an enhancement, and there's going to be some games where it doesn't come up. So I think I do prefer the stratagem to that, just because, yeah, you might get shot before you get into combat because your opponent knows you've got that in it, so you don't get to use it, or you might fight first, kill a bunch of stuff, and then get killed, so then you still don't get to use it. So it's a little niche. It could be fun, could be very good, but there's going to be a lot of times where it just doesn't come up, and you've paid points for this enhancement, which is a hard pill to swallow. Null Nodules. Tyranids monster model only. Once per battle, when a psychic attack is allocated to the bear, it can use this ability. If it does, until the end of the phase, the bear has a feel no pain 5 up against those psychic attacks. Again, it's very niche. You're banking on your opponent having a psyker and your opponent using those psychic attacks to go after your model that has this enhancement on it. Yeah, it's okay. Again, it's kind of a niche one. Not blown away by the enhancements so far. I think the first one's probably the most useful, but none of them I love. Monstrous Nemesis. Tyranids monster model only. Each time the bear makes a melee attack that targets a monster or vehicle, add 1 to the wound roll. Yeah, if you just want to make your hive turn the biggest, baddest beast on the board, that's probably going to be a good one to go for. He's already twin linked, but he's only strength 9, I think. Let's have a quick look at the hive turn. I think he's he's strength 9 or strength 7. And only one of those is twin linked. So adding +1 to wound rolls means he's going to be wounding most big stuff on 4s with twin linked, or 4s but not twin linked. So that does help. Sometimes it'll push you up to 3s and maybe 2s sometimes as well. So yeah, that's a useful one. Again, if your opponent, if he doesn't get into the combat, might not come up, but I like that. I think that's probably my favourite of the 4, maybe not the most useful, just the way I like to play. I do like having a big beat stick, so I think that's a good one. And then Ominous Presence is probably the most universally useful of the 4, I think. I think that's got a lot of play. Okay, Corrosive Viscera. In your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after a turn as mods for your army with Deadly Demise ability that cannot fly has been destroyed, do not roll a d6. Okay, so you automatically get Deadly Demise. I like stratagems like that. They can be really useful for when you've got a combat going on and something has just killed you. You can use Deadly Demise to make sure that you take out what you've been up against with you as well, or just inflict a little bit more damage to make it easier for you to take out further in the game. So yeah, abilities to inflict mortal wounds, always very good. So do like that for 1 CP. Rampaging Monstrosities. 1 Tyranids monster from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the phase, each time that model makes an attack, you can reroll the hit roll. Right, that's very good on your Carnifexes, because they are only a weapon skill 4, so getting them to reroll all their hits, really, really nice. Also good on things that have a lot of attacks, like a Trigon or the higher specs, just to get their attacks a bit more reliably through. Yeah, that's a good one for 1 CP, like that. You got a lot of monsters in your army that's going to be useful on. Savage Roar. At the fight phase, just after an enemy has selected its targets, 1 Tyranids monster, that enemy unit must make a battle shock test. That enemy unit must make a battle shock test. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in that unit makes an attack that targets your unit, subtract 2 from the hit roll. If that unit is battle shock as well, subtract 1 from the wind roll. Okay, that's very good. Keeping your monsters alive. Like that a lot. And yeah, just to give you -1 to hit for sure, and potentially -1 to wound as well. Means like something like a Terminator unit or Blade Guards really going to struggle to get the damage across on your monsters because they're already wounding you on 5s a lot of the time. I can just push it up to 6s and mean maybe even no damage goes through. So really good survivability stratagem, that Savage Roar. Okay, then we've got Untrammeled Ferocity. In your movement phase, one Tyranids monster unit from your army that has not been selected to move this phase. Till the end of the phase, models in that unit can move through enemy models as if they were friendly models. And until the end of the phase, any desperate takeout attacks for those models are automatically passed. Okay, so you got a monster that's below half strength potentially, but it's in a combat that it doesn't want to be in. You can just move out of that combat over the enemy units into a juicier target. Say your opponents try to screen you out with some light chaff, and you just override that, get over the top of them and get into the juicy stuff beyond. So that is also a very good stratagem. It's one that might not come up every game, but it's a really nice one to have in your back pocket. Swarm Guided Salvos is probably a shooting one. Yeah, in your shooting phase, one Tyranids monster from your army ignores cover, useful. And until the end of the phase, you can ignore all to hit modifiers to your ballistic skill and to hit rolls. Okay, yeah, if you're running that kind of thing, that's a nice addition to have in there. Just make your shooting monsters a bit more reliable, like your exocrines and your new biovores and things like that. So, yeah, that's not too bad. Massive Impact. In your charge phase, just after Tyranids monster model from your army has made a charge, select one enemy unit within engagement range of your model, roll 66 on a 4+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Yeah, as I say, abilities to do mortal wounds in addition to other attacks, very good. So yeah, I like that for 1 CP. That and Crows of Viscera, both very good for that kind of thing. Savage Roar is going to be great for keeping your monsters alive. Rampage and Monstrosity is great for making your monsters just hit a little bit harder. Unparalleled Ferocity, really good if you get just a bit of utility if you get in combat that you don't want to be in combat. You can just get a little dodge there. And then Swarm Guided Salvos, yeah, good if you're running some shooting monsters. So I really like the stratagems. Enhancements, there's some play in there. Let me know if you think I've missed something there, but I think the enhancements are a little weaker than the stratagems over the course there. Next we have the Unending Swarm. Okay, the monsters have moved in, they've cleared a path, and now all the little things are coming in. So Unsurmountable Odds is the detachment rule. Each time an enemy unit is selected to shoot, after a unit is finished making its attacks, if one or more models from one or more Endless Multitude units from your army have been destroyed as a result of those attacks, each such unit can make a surge move. To do so, roll 1d6. That unit can be moved a distance in inches up to the result, but that unit must end its move as close as possible to the nearest enemy unit, excluding aircraft. When doing so, those models can be moved within engagement range of an enemy unit. A unit cannot make a surge move while it is battle shocked. Okay, yeah, I can immediately see off the bat how that's going to be annoying. You're trying to shoot these swarms, get them down. If you've just got a lot of units with sort of mediocre firepower, you're going to have to put a lot of them into each unit. Each time you do so, that unit's going to be coming closer and closer to you. So really good one there. It's going to be quite impressive to play against, because I think a lot of the swarm stuff is fast moving already, and they're just going to get closer and closer and closer to you. Really good army detachment rule, that. Not the most killy, but it's going to play the game very well, can score you points. Enhancements. Relentless Hunger. Tyranids model only, add 2 to the move characteristic of models in the bearer's unit. Yep, okay, we're seeing a theme here. This is going to be all about movement shenanigans and shutting down your opponent. Naturalized Camouflage. Tyranids model only, at the start of the first battle round, select up to 3 friendly Endless Multitude units within 9 inches of the bear. Until the end of the battle round, each time a ranged attack targets one of those units, that unit has the benefit of cover. Okay, helps your survivability a little bit. Then we've got Piercing Talons. Tyranids model only, each time a model in the bearer's unit makes an attack on a critical roll, improve the AP of that attack by 1. Okay, yeah, not too bad. It's going to make your gaunts a little bit more punchy in combat. If you can actually, I'm not sure there's a character you could put in a gaunts unit. Maybe if you don't really need it on Gene Stealers, maybe Warriors. I don't know. I don't know how much you need that, especially with how I think this army is going to play, but maybe there's use for it. Let me know where you think that could be applied to Pearson Towns. And then lastly, we've got Adrenalized Onslaught. Tyranids model only. Each time the bear's unit piles in or consolidates models on that unit can move an additional 3 inches. Yeah, so again, more movement shenanigans. Those two that stand out for me, the Relentless Hunger and the Adrenalized Onslaught, just to really go strong on the movement. It might be when you play this, I've not played it or played against it, that you already have all the movement you need and you don't need those, but for me, those are the two that stand out at the start. Synaptic Goading. Any phase just before an Endless Multitude unit from your army that is within synapse range of your army makes a surge move. When making the surge move, you can reroll the d6. Okay, nice, handy, to determine how far that unit moves. And your unit can end a move as close as possible to the nearest objective marker instead of as close as possible to the nearest enemy unit. All other rules for making surge moves still apply, so you can't do it when you're battle shocked. But that's good, gives you a little bit extra utility. If you're not, find you don't need to shut down your enemy, you can go for those objective markers. Or if you've got a 4-inch move, it's the last thing to be shot at that unit, and if you can move 4 inches, you know you can shut down that enemy, be in combat with it. You might want the reroll, so you might want to stick that stratagem on just to make it a bit more likely that you're going to make that 4+. Unending Waves. Any phase, one Endless Multitude unit from your army that has just been destroyed, you can use this stratagem on that unit even if it was just destroyed. A new unit from your army identical to the destroyed unit in the Street of Reserves as it has starting strength. Any destroyed characters with attached unit are not returned. That's very good. You need the 2 CP, so you need to be banking on, be ready for that to happen and have a 2 CP at the ready. But yeah, that can be very good and very annoying for your opponent. They've just sunk a lot of firepower into a unit of, how many gaunts can you take? Where are we? 20 gaunts. So they've just sunk a lot of firepower into a unit of 20 gaunts. They've finally killed it. Boom, you pop that 2 CP, it's in strategic reserves, and it can come back on the board. Yeah, very good. Teaming Masses. In your opponent's shooting phase or the fight phase just after many of your selected attacks, one Endless Multitude unit from your army that was selected as target of attacks until the end of the phase. Each time an attack targets that unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. 1 CP, yeah, trying to keep your boys alive. Could be handy. Swarming Masses. In your shooting phase or fight phase, one Endless Multitude unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Till the end of the phase, weapons equipped by models in it utilize sustained hits 1 ability, and if your unit contains 15 or more models, which it probably will at the start of the game, each time a model in your unit makes an attack on an unmodified hit roll of 5+, scores a critical hit. Okay, so you're going to be getting those critical hits on a 5+, whether you're running Hormagaunts or Termagaunts or both. Yeah, that's 60 attacks potentially. You're probably going to lose some on the way in, but potentially 60 attacks from a unit of 20 Hormagaunts. And yeah, a lot of shots from a unit of Termagaunts as well. So fishing for 5+ sustained hits, you're going to get a lot of hits through with that. Yeah, that's good for 1 CP. I like that. It's going to be a fun one for rolling all those dice as well. Bounding Advance. Your movement phase. One Endless Multitude unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit advances, do not make an advance roll. Instead, until the end of the phase, add 6 inches to the move. Okay, yeah, more movement shenanigans. Again, I've not played this. It might be that you're fast enough, but that's going to make you even faster if not. So really, really good there. I think Hormagaunts can advance and charge. Yeah, they can. So, and they've got a 10-inch move. So you get them moving 16 inches, charging in afterwards. Yeah, they got a big threat range. Preservation Imperative. Your opponent's shooting phase just after many you will select for attack. One Endless Multitude unit from your army. You ignore the blast rule. Okay, if you're coming up against an army that's got a lot of blast, you're going to be able to reduce the effectiveness of that. Not one that's going to come up in every game, but handy to have in your pocket. Teaming Masses is good as well. So those are your 2 sort of defensive buffs. You've got an extra move shenanigans. You've got extra sort of slight tweak on your movement shenanigans for the insurmountable odds there. You got to make yourself a bit more punchy here, and you've got to bring back more units. So yeah, I think all of them have a place, and yeah, you got a couple of good enhancements in there too. So you can really see how this will be effective on the tabletop. It's not going to be the most killy. Don't expect to wipe out your opponent, but expect to suppress them and take over objectives and stop them scoring. Assimilation Swarm. Feed the swarm as a detachment rule. In your command phase, each harvester unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control can regenerate one friendly Tyranids unit within 6 inches of it. A unit can only be regenerated once per phase. Each time a unit regenerates, do one of the following. One model in that unit regains D3 lost wounds. One destroyed infantry model, excluding characters, is returned to that unit with full runes remaining. If that unit is an endless multitude unit, bring up to 3 destroyed models back to the unit instead. Okay, so a bit of utility there. You can either heal up your monsters, you can bring back sort of big infantry like a Tyranid warrior or a gene stealer, or you can bring back multiple models from an endless multitude unit. So right off the bat, good defensive capabilities there. Enhancements. Regenerating Monstrosity. Tyranids model only, excluding monster models. The bearer's unit can regenerate up to twice per phase instead of once. Okay, so if you've got a unit of, say, 6 warriors, and you want to be able to bring a couple of them back per phase, or you think they're going to be a big target for your unit, you stick a high Tyranid Prime in there, and you can do it twice per turn on that unit. Instinctive Defense. Tyranids model only. While the bearer's unit is in 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units, you can target the bearer's unit with the heroic intervention stratagem for 0 CP. In addition, while the bearer is within 6 inches of one or more friendly harvester units, models in the bearer's unit have the Fight First ability. Yeah, I like that a lot. Really like that. Yeah, I think both of those, you've got a bit of play. If you want to bring either a big unit of Gene Stealers with a Broodlord in it, or a big unit of Warriors, well, 6 of them, with a Tyranid Prime in it. I think both of those would work well on that. Biophagic Flow. It's an aura. While a friendly harvester model is within 12 inches of the bearer, when using the Feed the Swarm ability, the harvester model can regenerate one friendly Tyranid unit within 9 inches instead of 6. Gives you gives you a bit more utility, because obviously your harvester units have kind of got to hang around objectives, because they can only do it when they're within range of an objective marker, so that means you can spread out your Tyranids a little bit further from them. Kind of a useful one, but there may be workarounds that you don't need to use it so much. Parasitic Biomorphology. Tyranids model only. Add 1 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in the bearer's unit. The first time the bearer's unit is destroyed an enemy unit in the fight phase, while the bearer is within 6 inches of a friendly harvester unit, until the end of the battle, add 1 to the attacks characteristic of weapons equipped by models in that unit. Ooh. Yeah, so you got an extra strength off the bat for all the models in the unit. Yeah, that's a really good on. It's Tyranid Warriors, gonna get them up to strength 6. And potentially 7 attacks if they get the second part off. And Gene Stealers, you're going to get them up to strength 5. That's really important, actually. That's maybe the more important one, getting Gene Stealers up to strength 5. Because they're not twin linked, whereas Tyranid Warriors are. Get strength 5 Gene Stealers, and if you get that off, 5 attacks on them. Yeah. I like that for the Gene Stealers, and the 0 CP Heroic Intervention and Fight First on your Tyranid Warriors. Yeah, I could see some play with that. That's very nice. I think Rowan has plans to run the Assimilation Swarm very soon, so yeah, that might be something I have to face off against. Broodguard Impulse. Any phase, 1 harvester unit from your army that was just destroyed. You can use a stratagem on that unit, even though it was just destroyed. Until the end of the battle, each time a friendly Tyranids model from your army makes an attack that targets the enemy that destroyed the harvester, add 1 to the wound roll. That's very cool. So the harvester, obviously, what the hive mind wants is just biomass. So the harvesters are the key bugs in this force. Everything else is just out to protect them. You destroy one of the harvesters and you're going to pay for it with for 1 CP for the rest of the battle. All Tyranid units get +1 to wound on that. That's really strong for 1 CP. Really, really strong. I guess the handicap is you've lost one of your harvester units, which is a big hit because they're such a key part of the detachment. But for 1 CP, getting +1 to wound on like a tank or something, suddenly your Tyranid warriors are going to be wounding a tank on 4s with rerolls, AP -2. Yeah, like that. Very good opener. Like the look of the simulation swarm so far. Reclaim biomass. Any phase when a Tyranid unit from your army is destroyed, before that model is removed from play, 1 harvester unit from your army that was within 6 inches of that destroyed unit. Regenerate 1 friendly Tyranid's unit within 6 inches of the harvester unit. Okay, so say a monster is on 3 wounds and it gets 4 wounds not through. You can potentially heal up. If you roll 3 or 4, you're going to get it back on the board, just alive. Could be very good in a pinch. That one's probably not going to come up every game, but in some games it could really sway the outcome with your opponent thinking they just destroyed either a key unit like your Gene Stealers or your Warriors or a monster, and suddenly you're able to heal up just enough to stay alive. Could be good. Tyrannoformed. In your command phase, 1 harvester unit from your army that is within range of an objective marker you control. That objective marker remains under your control even if you have no models within range of it, or until your opponent controls it at the start of your turn. Okay, so very good for still being able to move forward, because obviously your combat units, if you're running Gene Stealers and Warriors, you're going to want them to remain close to your harvester unit. So your home objective, for example, you could just claim that, keep moving forward with everything, so your harvesters can move on to other objective markers and remain close to your combat core. So quite a good one that. That one might be one that you end up using every game. Could be a very useful one. Ablative Carapace. In your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase just after an enemy is selected as attacks, 1 harvester unit from your army is selected as a target over the attacks. Until the end of the phase, models in that unit have a 5+ feel no pain. If your unit is within range of objective mark, you have a 4+ feel no pain. It's 2 CP. Could be good. That is, yeah, if it's the difference between holding an objective marker and having a harvester unit on the board, especially if it's something like a Haruspex that can put out a bit of damage as well, 2 CP is going to be worth it if you've got it, I think. Yeah, to shrug off half the wounds that come through. It is good. 2 CP stings, yeah, but it is good. It is good. If it was 1 CP, it'd be very cheap, and 2 CP, yeah, it probably is worth 2 CP. I think that is good. Secure biomass. Fight phase. 1 Tyranid's unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Till the end of the phase, melee weapons, equipment models in that unit have lethal hits. Ability. If your unit is a harvest unit, each time model that unit makes a melee attack, you score a successful critical hit on a 5+. So yeah, get lethal hits across on 5s. The thing is, lethal, I would have rather that was sustained hits, I think, because the thing is, most of your harvesters units are going to be hitting quite hard anyway, I think. So you got the Haruspex, who's strength 14 or strength 7, so he doesn't need the lethal hits as much. He's probably going to be wounding most stuff on 3s or 2s. You got the Psychophage, who's strength 6, and he's got devastating wounds, so a lethal hit doesn't help you with the devastating wounds. Rippers it'll be good on, they're harvester, so getting lethal hits on them is maybe useful. Yeah, they are 6 attacks each, and strength 2. Yeah, maybe that's the target of that. Secure biomass it's for the Rippers. I think a Pyrovore is the other. Where are you, Pyrovore? Yeah, Pyrovore is a harvester, but Biovore isn't. And yeah, he's only got 2 attacks in combat, so you're not going to want to use it on him. Maybe the Rippers is the target of the secure biomass. don't know, maybe it's useful on other stuff, but it's always going to be useful, but you're maybe just not getting the best benefit of it on other things. Maybe it's for the Rippers. And then Rapacious Hunger. Your fight phase. One Tyranids unit from your army that has just destroyed one enemy unit. Your unit immediately regenerates, feed the swarm. When doing so, if your unit is a harvester unit and you choose for one or more models to gain D3 wounds, you gain 3 instead. Okay, so you can do regenerate stuff out of sequence, and if it's a harvester unit, you get the full 3 wounds back. Yeah, very nice. There's a lot of play with all those stratagems. Can have some real fun with them. Good tricks in there. It's probably the most defensive shields up of the detachments we've seen so far. But I like it, and because of the buffs you get out of the Gene Stealers and potentially Warriors, and Gene Stealers and Warriors are good anyway. Those could be your real big combat powerhouses in this. Yeah, I like instinctive defense and parasitic biomorphology. Both very good, and yeah, the stratagems. Yeah, I like that. There's a lot of theme in there. Vanguard Onslaught. Got a double detachment rule here. Questing Tendrils. Tyranids units with this ability are eligible to charge in a turn which they fell back. Gives you lots of slippery tricksiness like that. And Vanguard Invader units with this ability are eligible to charge in a turn which they advanced. Death Leaper loses the Hunter Organism rule and can be a Warlord. Okay, I'm guessing Hunter Organism just says he cannot be Hunter Organism. Yeah, he can't be a Warlord. So he can't be a Warlord. Still can't take an enhancement, but he can be a Warlord. Enhancements, yeah, something like that's going to be very fun on like a Trigon. Trigon pops up, charges into something, hits it, doesn't kill it, but it's done the majority of the work. It can move off, charge into another big target, and something else can go finish off what the Trigon hit to begin with. So yeah, Questing Tendrils has got a lot of usefulness. Hunting Grounds. Tyranids models only. While the bear is on the battlefield, each time your opponent sets up a reserves unit from the battlefield, roll a d6 on a 2+. That unit takes a battle shot test. Yeah, it's okay, potentially useful if you think the unit that's coming down is going to have a stratagem on it, or if it's coming down to claim an objective, it's maybe useful. But yeah, it's quite a niche one. And sometimes it's you've got to roll 2+, and then your opponent's got to fail their battle shot test, and they've also got to be deep striking something in. So yeah, it's okay. Not one that I would immediately go for. Chameleonic, Vanguard Invader model only. The bear has the stealth ability, and each time a ranged attack targets the bear's unit, models in that unit have the benefit of cover against that attack. Yeah. Can be good just for helping you keep stuff alive, like Tyranid Warriors, having them in cover all the way across the board could be very good, or Gene Stealers, because I don't think Gene Stealers actually have stealth built in. No stealth, so could be good on them having that stealth on there too, and the cover. They do have the 5-up invuln, but I'll at least give them a 4-up save regularly. Stalker, Vanguard Invader model only. At the start of the battle, select one enemy unit. Each time the bear makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll and 1 to the wound roll. Yeah. Okay, it's only on the Stalker, not on the whole unit that they're attached to. So I think Winged Tyrant. He is a Vanguard Invader, so I think he's probably the target of that. Just make him an absolute missile. He can go in and just absolutely nail something. Bear makes an attack. Yeah, it's just can be a shooting attack as well. So +1 to hit and +1 to hit and +1 to wound on his shooting attacks as well. Yeah, I think that on a Winged Hive Town is the way to go. The Neural Node. Tyranids model only. After both players have deployed their armies and determined who has first turn, you can select up 3 Vanguard Invader units and redeploy them. When doing so, those units can be placed into Strategic Reserve. Okay, very similar to what we saw with Alien Cunning in Invasion Fleet, and I always like stuff like that. That would be, if I wasn't running a Hive Tyrant, that would be the one I was leaning towards. If I'm running a Winged Hive Tyrant, I think the Stalker ability is very good on him. Surprise Assault. In your shooting phase, 1 Vanguard Invader unit from your army has been selected. has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. That enemy unit, and one enemy unit. That enemy unit must take a battleship test. Until the end of the phase, each time models in your unit make attacks against that enemy unit, add 1 to the hit roll. If the unit is battle shot, add 1 to the wound roll as well. Hitting on 2s is nice, just getting that for free. Or for 1 CP, that's good on its own. Potentially, if your opponent fails a battleshot test, the +1 to wound, even nicer. So, surprise assault, good there. Assassin Beasts. Fight phase. 1 Vanguard Invader infantry unit from your army that's not been selected to fight this phase, you get precision. Yeah, really good. Vanguard Invader units. So you got that on the Gene Stealers, you've got it on the Winged Tyrant Prime. The Winged Hive Tyrant, he's got enough attacks and hits hard enough, you probably don't want to be sticking precision on him. I think what I'd be looking at for this, because Lictors already have precision, so I'd be looking at, I think, the Von Leapers as a good little target for that stratagem. Yeah, there's 6 attacks each, so you potentially have 18 attacks if you've got, 3 of them. Yeah, with strength 5, AP -1, could finish off a character, take out a character, so that could be a good one on them. Seeded Broods. In your movement phase, 1 Tyranids unit from your army that is in reserves, or up to 2 Vanguard units from your army that are in reserves. Until the end of the phase, for the purposes of setting up selected units on the battlefield, treat the current battle round as being 1 higher than it actually is. Okay, you can really rush onto the board, get those units where they need to be turn 1. So that's a fun one. And let's not forget, Lictors are difficult to deal with when they come on as well, because they have lone operative. So that's a fun one. Hypersensory Skillia. Your opponent's movement phase, just after an enemy unit ends its normal move, advances and falls back. Up to 2 Vanguard Invader units from your army that are within 9 inches, or 1 Tyranids unit if you're not using it on Vanguard Invader units. Move those units up to 6 inches. Restrictions, you cannot be within engagement range. 2 CP, it's expensive for that sort of movement shenanigans, but it could be the difference of a unit being able to get shot at and not being able to get shot at if it's got stealth, as a lot of stuff in the Vanguard Onslaught does, or you could hop them behind cover, for example. So could be really worth it if you're getting to do it on 2 units, maybe a bit expensive if it's just on the 1. Unseen Lurkers. In your opponent's shooting phase, just after your selected targets, 1 Vanguard unit from your army that selects targets with attacks. Till the end of phase, your unit can only be selected as the target of a ranged attack if the attacking model is within 12 inches, or if the unit has the lone operative ability, then you have to be within 6 inches. Okay. So yeah, on your Gene Stealers, you can just say, no, you can't shoot at them. So first, say you don't get first turn, your opponent comes out, tries to shoot at your Gene Stealers, can't shoot at them unless you're within 12 inches. Really good, that one. It's really good for keeping things like Gene Stealers alive. Like that a lot. Invisible Hunter. Till the end of the fight phase, up to 2 Vanguard units, or just 1 Tyranids unit if you're not selecting Vanguard unit. Remove the target units from the battlefield and put them into strategic reserves. And the target must be more than 3 inches away from enemy units. Yeah, really nice, just more shenanigans there. A lot of movement shenanigans. This has, I think the way I would play this is I'd be distracting my opponent with Gene Stealers, make them the big threat on the table, while my things like my Lictors and my Von Leapers, maybe even some like Raveners, are running around and doing the objective game. Yeah, maybe stick a couple Trigons in there, they could be coming in from Deep Strike as well. More distractions from your opponent while you go play the objective game sneakily. Yeah, I like the theme of this. It's got a lot of play, got a lot of tricks. Stalker, yeah, you run a Winged Hive Tyrant as well as another big distraction of Stalker. Go after some key targets with him. Yeah, I think it's got some utility there. Lastly, we have the Synaptic Nexus. And Synaptic Imperatives, an old classic from 9th edition, is the army rule here, or detachment rule. At the start of the battle round, you can select one of the Synaptic Imperatives shown below. Till the end of the battle round, that Synaptic Imperative is active for your army, and while a Tyranids unit from your army is within Synapse range of your army, it will have the benefit from it. Each Synaptic Imperative can only be selected once per battle. Okay, basically Spaceman Doctrines for Tyranids here. So Synaptic Augmentation is a 5+ invulnerable save, very nice. It's not capped to zoanthropes anymore. You don't have to castle around your zoanthropes. You just get that. So that's very nice. That's probably your turn one that you're going to be using most of the time. Surge in Vitality. While this unit is within synapse range of your army, add 1 to advance and charge rolls. So if you've got a lot of stuff coming in from Deep Strike, for example, rolling an 8-inch charge is a fair bit easier than rolling a 9-inch charge sometimes. So this is a good one for your turn 2 or whenever you're coming out with Deep Strike. Goaded to Slaughter. While this unit is within synapse range of your army, each time a model in this unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the hit roll, and then there's your turn 3. Turn 2, you get your charges off. Turn 3, you're in combat, boom, +1 to your hit rolls. Really nice. Nice flow of step-by-step of that there. Enhancements. Power of the Hive Mind. Tyranid Psyker model only. Improve the strength and armor penetration characteristic of a psychic weapon equipped by that there by 1. Okay, so having come up against them a couple of times already, in 10th edition, I do really like the Neuro Tyrant, and I think his Psychic Scream is very good. So it's got Ignores Cover, it's Psychic, it's Torrent, it's 2d6 attacks, it automatically hits because it's Torrent, it's Strength 5, it's AP -1, and it's Damage 2, so you can get that up to Strength 6 and AP -2 with Damage 2. It's just a Marine killer. It's great for that. So you're just making that weapon a little bit better. Really like Power of the Hive Mind there. Psychostatic Disruption. Tyranid Synapse model only. Enemy units that arrive on the battlefield from reserves cannot be set up within 12 inches of the bear. In addition, once per battle, during the first or second battle round, when your opponent declares that a unit will arrive on the battlefield from strategic reserves, the bear can use this enhancement. If it does, roll d6 on a 4+, the enemy unit cannot arrive on the battlefield this turn. If it comes off, it's great, but in some games your opponent is going to be deep striking stuff in, and if they are, they're not necessarily going to be coming within 12 inches of him. They might not want to deep strike stuff in until turn 3, so then there's the second part of that ability doesn't come off, and if they do, it's only a 50-50 that you're actually going to get it off. So yeah, there's one I would probably avoid just because it's so niche to get all the benefit out of that, and there's probably, I think the first one off the bat is a better option, so we'll see what else we've got. Synaptic Control. Tyranid Synapse model only. Each time an attack is allocated to the bear, subtract 1 from the damage roll. Yep, great. Stick that on your Hive Tyrant, make him even more durable. He's a 2-up, 4-up. I think he's toughness 10. Yeah, toughness 10 with 10 wounds. Just make him a little bit more survivable. Great, yeah, like that a lot. The Dirge Heart of Chaos. Tyranid Synapse model only. While an enemy unit is within 9 inches of the bear, worse of the leadership of that by 1. That can be very gamey. That could be a really good one, especially if you're running, as we just mentioned, the Neuro Tyrant, because when you do Shadow of the Warp, you subtract 1 to battle shot tests across the board, so that would be subtracting 2 inches of whatever you have this on. Say you've got on a Hive Tyrant, he's in the middle of the board, 18-inch circular threat range. Everything within that is -2 to its battle shot test when you do Shadow of the Warp. Could be really good in a key point in the game just to stop your opponent's score in the primary. Yeah, that's probably got some play actually, like that. The Smouldering Shadow. Any phase just after an enemy unit fails a battle shot test. 1 Synapse unit from your army within 12 inches of that unit, roll 66, and on a 3+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So Rowan used this stratagem against me to great effect when I was running the Blooded Taurians, our House Space Marine chapter. He used Shadow of the Warp, he had the Neuro Tyrant on the board. I failed a lot of battle shot tests across the board, even with just the -1, not even the -2, failed a lot of them. My Tech Marine was within 12 inches of his Neuro Tyrant. He used this stratagem and he rolled 4 3-ups in the average and killed my Tech Marine. So it can be a really good stratagem for that. For 1 CP, you're going to average 4 mortal wounds. It's great. Synaptic Channeling. 1 Synapse unit from your army until the end of the turn, while friendly Tyranids units within 9 inches of that unit comes being with Synapse range. Sure, fine. I think if you're running this, you're probably going to be running a lot of Synapse creatures anyway, so you might not need that. if you're moving your units well, you're probably going to stay within 9 inches. It might be useful, it's one to have in your back pocket, but not one that's going to come up every game, I don't think. Irresistible Will. Your shooting phase or fight phase. One synapse unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot or fight this phase, and one enemy unit within 24 inches invisible to the synapse unit. Till the end of the phase, each time a friendly Tyranids model from your army makes an attack that targets that unit, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 and reroll wound rolls of 1. Okay, so things like warriors, which are synapse, they already have a lot of built-in. They can reroll 1s in the fight phase, and they can reroll, well, all the wound rolls if they're running the combat ones. So not really useful on them. Could be useful on something like a Trigon if that's within synapse range. What Rowan was using it a lot on one of his zone tropes just to make their psychic powers a bit more reliable. So for 1 CP, sure, reroll 1s and reroll wounds. It's not bad. Reinforced Hive Node. In your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, just after an enemy unit is selected as targets, one synapse unit from your army that was selected as the target of one or more of those attacking units attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack targets your unit, worsen the AP of that character, the attack characteristic by 1. Sure, great for keeping your Tyranid stuff alive. Yeah, get your shields up. Solid one to have in your arsenal. Imperative Dominance. In your command phase, one Tyranid unit from your army that's within synapse range of your army. Select one synaptic imperative, even if you have already selected that imperative this battle. Until the start of your next command phase, that synaptic imperative is active for that unit instead of any other synaptic imperatives active for your army. Okay, great for sticking an invuln back on one of your big monsters, or your Tyranid warriors or something, really good for that. Or if it's getting to the end game and you need to make a long charge to get into something, or you need to get onto an objective with +1 to the advance roll, could be really good to just stick that on a unit. And then yeah, if you just need to kill an extra thing, could do Goaded to Slaughter. So again, that's a really useful one to have in your arsenal. Might not come up every game, but really solid to have it there. That's a very good stratagem too. Override Instincts. Your movement. One Tyranid unit from your army that is within synapse range of your army and made a fall back move this turn. That unit is allowed to go to shoot and clear charge this turn. Great, yeah. If you get tied up with something you don't want to be tied up in anymore, fall back, you can shoot, you can charge, great. Yeah, Override Instincts, really good bit of utility to have in the army there. Yeah, this might be, Synaptic Nexus might be the most rounded, other than Invasion Fleet as well, which has a lot of different utility. Synaptic Nexus does too. You have to run synapse creatures, but a lot of time players like to do that anyway. And you needed synapse in Invasion Fleet as well, so they're kind of similar, slightly different with how their 2 detachment rules work, but they've both got a good bit of flexibility there. Yeah, like Synaptic Nexus as well, so good rounded one. Then lastly, we get to the data sheets. I'm not going to go over these today, but if you'd like to see us go over these in another video, let us know, and we will cover these, talk through each data sheet, what we think of the good ones, what we think of the bad ones, good combos in terms of which detachment they would go well into. Let us know if you'd like to see that. At the back, we've got a little bit on the Crusade rules, and that's everything. So I've just got one sad thing to talk about the Tyranids Codex. For the most part, I think it's really, really good. I think they've nailed the detachments. I think there's a lot of flexibility in there. There's a lot of different ways to play. I think it's really fun. But I'm a little upset that we didn't get a new Codex art. That's my one little negative about this. I don't remember that ever happening with a Codex before. Usually every time a new Codex comes out, we get new artwork, which is one of the things I like about getting a new Codex. You know, you got a new book on your shelf with new artwork. So I was a little bit sad about that. They did the same with Spaceman Codex, and they've done the same with the AdMech. Necrons are getting a new Codex art, for example, so I don't know why they've chosen them to get new Codex art. Hopefully, further into 10th edition we'll see more new Codex art coming. But for the most part, very, very solid Codex from the rules-wise. Let us know what you think if you'd like to see us cover the data sheets for this and the Space Marines Codexes. If you like this and watch this, why don't you check out the Space Marine Codex Codex review here, and if you're interested in becoming a Timorous Beastie, check out this video here. We shall see you again very soon on the Brothers Grimdark.